take care of the box.
Do you really understand the evils of war? From where I'm standing, war seems to hand medals and royalties. We are led to believe there is good guys and bad guys in the name of war, but in reality, murder is still murder. People will die. And people, just like you and I, will fight these wars for the people in charge, whether that will be for resources or whatever purposes. Well, I'm sure you'll understand the bigger picture eventually.
Well, I'm sure you'll see the bigger picture eventually.
Now, to get to the point, my theory is Big Boss is just as complicit and evil within the acts of war than the likes of Skullface. Now, sure, one can debate the moral sides of both sides of the coin, but the fact is, they're still both the same side. It doesn't matter what side you toss the coin. Either way, they're playing for the same thing. Both share the same goals in wanting to destroy Zero and the information control. Skullface, a man still haunted by his past, the reasons for why he wishes to destroy the world and rid the English language. Where Big Boss, on the other hand, wishes to create nations of soldiers with a place where they could have endless battle, going wherever they're needed in exchange for business and goods. In an end, keeping the fans of flames of war going.
How did we end up agreeing to the nuclear inspection?
Because after you sent that letter, I told them. After careful reconsideration, we agree to your request. And frankly, we should be inspected. This is our chance. If they come and go without discovering the nuke, we can tell the world we're clean. We can use the media to prove to the world we don't have a nuke. Besides, even if we said no, it would just be delaying the inevitable.
Kaz, our hands are tied now. Start getting the place ready. Zeke stays.
So as you can see, the very beloved hero that has been fighting to take down nuclear weapons his entire life is now in charge of such weapon. Now, nuclear weapons are no such weapon that anyone should possess, as the major superpowers across the world do, but these weapons are announced as such. I think the most sobering thought of all is knowing that Big Boss could surprise nuclear launch anywhere he chooses, unexpectedly across the world. Most nations are aware of each other's nuclear armament, and are not willing to launch at each other knowing that it would cause a mutual destruction amongst the world. Big Boss hiding his weapon, with Zeke well hidden.
What's up, Huey?
Our guests are right on time. Document destruction and hangar decontamination are complete. AFVs have been stowed away, and Zeke's on the seafloor along with a nuke. Everyone's got their story straight. The guided tour will be wrapped up by the time you get home.
Make me proud.
By the time they leave, I'll have the IAEA praising us as the poster boys for world peace.
New genres and new experiences.
So over 9 years ago, it's E3 2014. Some of you may recollect it might have been one of the greatest years for gaming history. There's quite a few trailers for the likes of Metal Gear Solid 5, but one in particular that stands out is the E3 2014 trailer, which I believe shows off some of Big Boss's darker qualities. Now, the main driving force behind the Phantom Pain, as we know, is revenge. It's fair to say around about at this time of the story, Big Boss now is the anti-hero. Even in situations just as war for a just cause, his intentions are noble and true, even at the worst of times. To call Big Boss an outright villain just doesn't seem right. As in the trailer here, one can leave it open for interpretation, but one thing is evident and clear, that it seems a village has been overrun by some war. A war maybe that Big Boss himself has participated in, as it appears corpses lie dead at Big Boss's feet, that of villagers. As you all may be aware, this scene wasn't actually in the finishing of the game, and I don't believe it was ever confirmed what this scene was meant to be. I truly believe it was meant to show the dangers of war, and that both sides have a hand to play, and the disaster that it can cause to the innocent people around them. Understanding Metal Gear Solid within Kojima's work is putting the spotlight on war itself, showing the dark side of it, as well as also having its anti-war message. The point I have to raise about Metal Gear Solid 5 is a contradiction of itself. It's very anti-war in its ways, with its nuclear disarmament scenes, but it doesn't somehow seem to make sense in terms of fitting in with Big Boss's character. Now, whilst Venom Snake is his own character, and after realizing who his true identity is, maybe one can think he is nothing like Big Boss. As within the nuclear disarmament scene, you can clearly see that Miller wants to disarm nuclear weapons all over the world, with the Phantom seeming to be on his side, but as we know later on in the game, Miller goes his own way, and takes Solid Snake under his training, whilst Venom seemingly continues the work of Big Boss.
Was deactivated. That is a fact. But the knowledge that built it is still out there. How long the world remains nuke-free is up to us. Will this moment persist? Or will human ambition cast us into the flames once more? Our duty is to pass on what we've learned to the next generation. The memories, the experiences, the sins. Only when our children show the wisdom not to forge new spears, only then will we be truly triumphant.
Now, whilst war is inevitable, it's part of the human condition. Different ideologies and beliefs somehow will always cause conflict, no matter what. Now, whilst I get this particular scene here was something special for the likes of FOB, which in itself was a fantastic rendition into the game to have for an online feature, I won't even deny this scene's canon to the story, because it fits like a glove later in the timeline, as the likes of Commander Miller, Roy Campbell, and Solid Snake are all part of an organization to destroy Metal Gears across the world and shut down nuclear weapons. Personally, I feel that the character developmentation could have been a little bit more stronger in terms of the story of Big Boss, as we want to see the side of him that was so demonstrated on the likes of the first ever games that came out. Such as the disarmament itself, this seems completely in the polar opposite of Big Boss developing the likes of Metal Gears along with nuclear weapons.
Someone manages to build another nuke. We'll be there to shut him down.
Heaven or hell?
No, there's another.
Other heaven. Tape's rolling, boss.
The decline of Big Boss starts to fall as the true faces of war starts to appear. War as a business.
Their lives for a fistful of diamonds, huh? And what happens after that? They can't go home.
Looks like our client just got outbid.
In terms of moral choices, one can believe that Big Boss does the right thing, and has intentions to do the right thing regardless of the client wanting him to eliminate the targets. And for once we'll put aside the aspect of war as a business in order to do the right thing. But one can question, if the diamonds wasn't present, would a Big Boss still would have carried out the client's duty? The tape was rolling, so as far as the client was aware, the target was dead. But it can't help make you think that maybe in a certain circumstance, Big Boss would have killed those kids.
Learn how to read and write. Do basic jobs.
Chance at a real life. Just not from behind a gun.
Between Metal Gear Solid 5, it seemed as if Big Boss was fighting between right and wrong, almost like he couldn't get the demons off his back. And this would foreshadow the future as Big Boss would descend truly into darkness. So we're moving towards Metal Gear 2, the early MSX games, in which I think personally describes Big Boss at his true peak of his villainy. From rescuing child soldiers and giving them freedom and a sense of education, to then using these children of war and orphans as a commodity, as a way to fan the flames of war. And during the time of Zanzibar, which is in Africa, is where Big Boss would have likely recruited a lot of these child soldiers for his own purposes.
This is you, as you've lived until this day. Tomorrow, it becomes a phantom.
And how could we forget about the Phantom, Venom Snake, the sacrificial soldier who put his whole life on the line in fighting for Big Boss and carrying out his duties to the very end. There won't be a nobler soldier you will find within the franchise like Venom Snake. He was the most loyalist above all, even dare I say Ocelot, in terms of being there for support with Big Boss no matter what. Even when he had the chance once he awoken to find his true identity, still continued to help Big Boss, regardless of the slight betrayal. And understandably, Venom is loved worldwide for his character and his traits, some feeling as if they can relate to such character. But then again, why would they not, as we all felt betrayed as we realized we was not the real Big Boss.
Anyone can give up his fight by laying down arms. But the feeling of holding a gun, that we'll never forget. Like our lost limbs, the sensation lingers.
Now at this point into the game we get a very good understanding the kind of man that Venom Snake is, and the ability to be able to carry out missions such as only Big Boss could fulfill. But one thing that is clear is the betrayal was real, and in fact we used to carry out the duties that the boss himself should have been continuing. Now whilst the plan was for the boss to establish the new Outer Heaven in secret, it still just seems out of place in terms of the honourable thing for Big Boss to do, and during the mission of Venom Snake, Big Boss was nowhere to be seen. It makes you question what was Big Boss's loyalties to, and what did Venom Snake actually mean to the boss? Was he just a puppet? Kojima being a genius with symbolism, we can clearly see what appears to be Big Boss transitioning into all different kinds of different sections of his life, all of which are where Big Boss had been changed, shaped somewhere throughout history in his missions that have caused him to become, as we can see, a demon, a shadow of his former self, becoming what appears to be a monster, and then eventually finally realizing that the very same person in which he is trying to destroy, he himself has now become, and in a sense follows in the footsteps of Skullface.
Pain is ours, and no one else's. The secret weapon we wield, out of sight. We will be stronger than ever for our peace. Sahelanthropus will unleash that thirst unto the future. Those were his last words.
Cause.
So the question is open for debate. The points are that Big Boss himself was betrayed by his own countrymen, lied to, and his own very loved disciple he had to kill by his own hand. But more the fact that it could be the times of war and how things have changed in terms of ideologies and his beliefs, such as right and wrongs. Or what he has experienced could be very well the very reason why his descent into darkness. If we take it back to Operation Snake Eater, you can quite clearly see that Snake's objectives and beliefs are very different to how they are in the future.
In the end, you have to choose whether you're going to live as a soldier or just another man with a gun. There's a saying in the Orient, loyalty to the end. Do you know what it means?
Being patriotic.
It means devoting yourself to your country.
I follow the president and the top brass. I'm ready to die for them if necessary.
The president and the top brass won't be there forever. Once their terms are up, others will take their place.
I follow the will of the leader, no matter who's in charge.
I'm loyal to the end, to my purpose. What about you, Jack? What's it going to be? Loyalty to your country or loyalty to me? Your country or your old mentor? The mission or your beliefs? Your duty to your unit or your personal feelings? You don't know the truth yet. But sooner or later you'll have to choose.
In the end, I think Big Boss embodied the boss's will, which was to be loyal to his purpose, and to try and fulfill what he believed to be the boss's will, even though it had its differences. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching The Faces of War. Please leave me a comment in the section down below. This has been The Voice Box.
Take care of the box.